If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief? Okay, here we go. I know I'm talking to another geek because we're both into this whole marketing and technology and all that kind of stuff. So Mike Kim is joining me again. If you haven't listened to the last two episodes, I highly recommend you do, because we have set this all up to really start talking about the geeky stuff I love, which is really our strategy and the tactics we use on a daily basis. So we started out 30,000 foot mindset, right? We came to about maybe 10,000 foot with this whole impact and innovation kind of idea. And now we're at ground level. We are down in the weeds, looking at every blade of grass and thinking about how we can plan this whole thing to be able to do the things we want to do. So let's take you. I'm just going to open it up. One of your products, one of the things that you do, whether it's the book, whether it's the mastermind, whether it's the certification course, whether it's speaking, blogging, any of those things that you do so well, take one of them and just walk me through the basic strategy that you used to try and bring that to the world.
Yeah, I'll touch on masterminds, because that's really one of the pillars of my business. It's one of the pillars of my business because it's a pillar of my life. It's something that matches my personality. So on the previous episodes, I shared about how I'd rather have a small dinner party than 500 people at, a beach party that I'm hosting, right? Yeah. I might do the beach party kind of thing if I ever get married again, right? I'll just go bonkers. But I'm much more hey, let's get together with a smaller group of people and just connect and just do life and laugh. Now with the masterminds, I cap them at 12 people. That number works for me. It's a number where it's big enough that there's energy of a group, but it's small enough where people can really get to know each other if they want to, right? And when I market a mastermind, historically, ever since I did the first one in 2015, it's been super low key, because I'm kind of a low key guy when it doesn't have to be, what's the opposite of low key? High key? I don't know. Bougie, right? Like when you have to really deck stuff out. Yeah. I'm sort of like, the simpler my tools, the more likely I'm going to use them. And so that varies, that differs and contrasts very greatly from how I do things that are meant for a mass audience. Right. So when I marketed my book, it was a mass audience thing. We ran Google ads, we ran Facebook ads, we tried to grow my email list through paid traffic, and I was doing a ton of podcasts, and it was like me to many, right? And that was a different, hired my designer to, doll everything up, everything you could think of, go to the nines. With a mastermind, it's sort of like, hey, don't come to my beach party, come to my house.
Right.
If I was inviting you to my house every couple of weeks, and we're just going to have dinner and have good focused conversations every other week for 5 months, how would I let people know about it? I would text them. Yeah. I would email them. I would not send them a Facebook ad, because I don't send Facebook ads to people to come over to my house. So that's a little bit of the strategy, or like the framework in my mind around how I do these things. Now, once you get into the tactical stuff, I mean, even if I'm inviting people over, I want to vet them. So I have an application process. I ask questions that are designed to find out more about them and the way they think. Mm-hmm. Folks are sometimes taken aback by the questions I ask. For example, a few of them are like this. How do you make your living? That's different from how much money has your business made, because that's not how you make a living. That's not always how people make a living. Someone might say, oh, I built 3 multi-million-dollar companies. I don't work. Okay, good, right? Or I invest in real estate on top of whatever I'm doing, or something along those lines. Another question I ask, which always gets a really interesting response, how do you see the world? Right? So these are tactical things that I'm doing to vet people who are coming to my virtual house every other week, right? A final one, just that I'll share here. Where do you get your support and encouragement from? And you'd be shocked at what some people write. I had one guy years ago write, not really anywhere. I'm doing this. I want to launch my coaching business so my wife will believe in me. I'm like, wrong group. Like, this is not the place for a guy like that who's saying that, right? So I'm like, okay, it's better I know this stuff ahead of time. They go through an application process. We do a call, short 15-minute call, either on the phone or on Zoom, so I can feel their energy, right? Are they going to show up? Do they come included with their own batteries? That's a big piece for me, right? Are they going to elevate the energy in the group or drain it, right? So so that's really big for me. And then once we talk, they're usually, if I feel like it's good, then we just move forward, and so that's been a very low-key process, which I have systemized using the tools and apps that I have in my business. But that's taken the principles of how I want to run a group and form a group and sort of processed it, so that tactically my assistant Chelsea, my other assistant Sadie, the 3 of us can look at this and make sure it's all working. And that's how we do it.
Yeah. And I can say from someone who's gone through that process, that it is exactly that, that kind of representation of who you are. It is very low key. It is like, hey, you want to be here, fantastic. You don't, fantastic. It really is not an expectation or trying to sell me anything. And for a mastermind, that's really important, because you are going to be part of a group. And I can definitely say that I would not want to switch my group, right? I mean, I want to stay with these people because we've built a rapport. We've built an energy around us. We know each other. We know our strengths. We know our weaknesses. We know where we can impact each other, because we've spent the last 5 months together. And shared some pretty intimate situations of our feelings and our thoughts and our difficulties that we've gone through in life, and our successes and our celebrations. So I wouldn't want to just all of a sudden jump into this mastermind and go, okay, Mike, put me in another group. It's like, no, don't take me away from my little mastermind family here. And that's what you're creating. And so I get it. And it's very different from the typical marketing, which is like you talked about, dress it up and pretty it up and make it say this certain thing like you would need to do for a book. So take us into, and thank you for delineating that to show the difference between how you marketed a book and the strategy for marketing your book, one to many, and how you marketed your mastermind, one to just a few. And there's another question that you had in there. Clarify it for me. There was a question in the application for the mastermind about family, something about how you what family support, or how do you look at family, or what's important to you about your family?
I just asked him.
What was that?
It's as simple as tell me about your family.
Yeah.
And I think that is such an interesting question. I haven't gone too much into the psychology behind why people answer certain questions a certain way. All I have heard in the past is, so there's another test out there called the DISC, DISC. And practitioners of the DISC say that if you ask a person, tell me about yourself, based on their DISC profile, they will say different things. They will respond in a different way. So if someone asks me, tell me about yourself, my first response will be, what do you want to know? Because I'm trying to get it right. And I want to be helpful. I'm not an open-ended person, but then in that regard. But then there are other people who will immediately talk about work And then there are other people who immediately talk about their family.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how that plays out psychologically, right? So I'm not
Yeah.
some NLP practitioner or anything like that. Not that that's bad. I don't know that much about it. I just like that question.
Mhm.
And the responses are very interesting. Like some people say, you know, talk about their human family and then their dogs or their cats, their pets. And I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because it three-dimensionalizes a person through this application.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's important for me to see that side of people because it also makes me able to bond with them in a different way. Even though I'm this facilitator, I want connection points with these people because basically I'm basically hosting a dinner party every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want to get to know these people better, right? And so if we can bond over dogs or pets or nephews or nieces or whatever, or if someone says I used to be married, I'm like, cool, so was I. All right,
Yeah.
that's not a
Yeah.
bad thing then. Okay, we
Yeah.
can bond over
Yeah.
that a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So it's always a fascinating question in that, and some would say, oh well, you're doing a good job of prospecting your leads and validating your leads, and yeah, I guess so. I guess
Mhm.
so. I
Yeah.
just try to do it in a way that I would want to answer those questions. I would
Yeah.
appreciate being asked those questions if I was applying to a group somewhere.
Yeah. And just like you said, with inviting them to your house to a dinner party, um, it's not a bad thing that you have this
Hmm.
application. And there are some people you don't want to invite to your house for the dinner party. That doesn't mean anything's bad about them. It doesn't mean there's anything bad about you. It's just that there's not a fit. That's it.
Hmm.
No judgment about
Hmm.
it, just not a fit. So take me through the tactics of that. Then you talked about there's different programs you use, different tools that you use. So for your application, you use a type form kind of process.
Yeah. So back in the day, like a little over a year and a half ago, everything was super duct taped. So they would go to a Google form, and
Mhm.
this is when I was running 1 or 2 mastermind groups at the most. And you'll quickly see why that was the most I could run. I believe James Clear in Atomic Habits says something like this, to this effect: you don't rise to the level of your talent, you fail to the level of your systems. And man, that was true for me, right? Because I'll admit, I'm good at what I do. I think I'm one of the best I know at what I do.
Yeah.
And I couldn't scale it. I couldn't get efficient with it because the systems weren't in place. So here's what they used to do. They used to go to a Google form. You get those submissions in Google Forms. I would have to look them over in Google Forms, then send a manual email to each person I wanted to book a call with to jump on my Calendly link. And once they jumped on the Calendly link, I would let my assistant know they were a good fit, and she would put them into Slack and a calendar invite. So there's a lot of manual work going on, right? Now what we do, we have white labeled, we meaning Connie Pack and I. Connie is my, she's basically the head of my digital marketing. She's like my OBM, if you would give her a title. And we pushed everything onto Go High Level, which is kind of an all-in-one platform, which I typically don't believe in, but it's just been so good for my business that we literally have moved everything there. And we white labeled it because she's been using it for years for her clients, and we white labeled it to Brand New Funnels. And so now we have all of my landing pages, opt-in pages, everythend is on that system. And for the first time in my career, my public facing marketing is married to my back end CRM. They talk to each other. They're in one system. So I can pull up a contact. Anyone who's ever opted into my email list or bought a product, everything is there in one place. And I have all their notes. I have what emails they've opened, everything. It's amazing. So now they fill out a form that's on Brand New Funnels. Once they fill it out, I look it over, it pings me, and it's my job to look over the application. And if I like what I see, I just slide their card over into the right column and say, schedule a one-on-one call. And it sends an automated email with a link to book the call. Once they book the call, they automatically move over by themselves into the third column, which is they've booked a call. And once I do the call with them, I have brand new funnels open. I'm writing my notes right there in the system, like the customer service line you call when you're calling your phone with the utilities, right? This call may be recorded for quality assurance purposes, right? And it's crazy.
Yes.
I can call them within the system. I can text them. I can email them from what I don't even have to log into Gmail or into my phone.
Yeah.
And I take all the notes. And if they're a good fit, I know right away. If they're a
Yeah.
good fit, I slide them over and they get the registration link and everything's set. If they're not a good fit, I put them over into the other column where I can say to myself, follow up with them in 6 more months, or they're just not a good fit at all. Like they're just their personality fit's not good. And that's okay, but they're still in the system.
Yeah.
And so this has allowed me to go from 1 or 2 groups at the most to like 5. And they're all different levels.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting someone who's an owner like you in a group with people who are just starting out and trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. I can process all this stuff because my system allows me to do it. And big props to Connie because she's been trying to get me on this for a long, long time. And this is what I'm really seeing the value in this system for.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing, and it's going to be really good for business, and it's going to be great for impact. And it's a
Completely.
granular thing that I can literally process all this right within the software and a piece of notebook paper and just jot
Yeah.
down thoughts once in a while. It's awesome. It's awesome.
That's amazing. So I agree 100%. GHL is amazing. It's an incredible all-in-one tool. We haven't really had all-in-one tools that are truly all-in-one until
Mhm.
now. And it really, I agree with you. Before I wouldn't have wanted one tool because I come from the messenger world, and putting all of my eggs in one basket is very uncomfortable because
Mm.
Facebook
Yep.
owns that basket and they've shut lots of us down for no reason. So as long as I can have control over it and it's not tied to someone else's rules in that respect of when I can talk to the people who've opted into my world, then I'm all in to an
Right.
all-in-one system because it works for
Right.
me. I pay for it for
Right.
me. Whereas Facebook, I'm not paying them anything unless I pay them, advertising revenue. That's why they own the data and I don't. But yeah, I agree with you. And GHL is an incredible tool, and I love what you've done to be able to white label that specifically for people who are building a brand.
Well, it's fun too because I mean, you would think it's common sense, but most of the people who follow my work do so because they have businesses that are sort of similar to mine. We're in the same ballpark. We're not maybe like directly the same.
Yeah.
And Connie and I would have these conversations, and she'd be like, well, it does the lead pages and you can hold your courses. I was like, my audience isn't full of people who really care about that stuff. It's kind of like a necessary evil.
Right.
I know that my clients, my followers, they still do client work. They still do coaching clients. They want to run group coaching programs, but very few of them are 100% course creators.
Yeah.
There's a client aspect to what they do, which is what my business is like. And so we wrestled a lot, not with each other, but we were trying to hash out like, how do we position this the right way? And I realized I'm the best case study for this software working for me because I don't know a single person in my audience of people who are in masterminds with me or in courses who do not want to run group coaching or run a mastermind. They all want to do so, right? And so if I can sell them, this enabled me to effectively double what I do and 3x the income.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they want to know about that?
Yeah.
So my first webinar title to kind of showcase this, and I'm going to do it consistently because I believe that much in the system, was not, put all your traffic and funnels and lead pages and messengers and all the content in one place with this great system. No, the pitch was, you're like, how I restructured my business to take 40 worry-free days off from work. And 2 emails, hundreds of people signed up because that's what they want.
Yep.
That's what this has
Yes.
allowed me to do. So you sell that story, and I know we'll talk a little bit about story, but that's how I strategically and tactically have marketed this software and this program. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
stories.
it. And that's marketing at its best, because you're not talking about, so I look at it as you're either the chef or you're the pan. And the first analogy you gave, put all your stuff in one basket, that's the pan. That's if you're a
Mm,
chef, you use a pan, that's the tool. You're basically selling the tool. But you're the chef. You are selling the result, the incredibly
mhm,
delicious meal that pan helped you create.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. hmm
That's
hmm
marketing.
it's been incredible to kind of like, kind of like we talked in the previous episodes about like your mindset, right? And the shift that you have to continually make, and you never arrive. And
Mhm.
this was very stressful to me. Like Connie was like, "Hey, we have paying members," because basically what we did over the last year, anyone who bought into a course with me, we gifted them a couple of free months, and Connie would walk them through the process. So she was like, "Hey, we have almost 100 members, paying members." I was like, "I didn't know that. What? When did that happen?" And she's like, "It's working, Mike. It's validated." I was like, "Okay, well, it works because these people were in a program with me and they got it for free, and then they started paying for it. How do I market this to the open world?" And
Mhm.
she's very much a pan person, right? Because she's
Yes.
super techy, and she's like, "Okay, this it's amazing what it does." And I'm like, "Okay, to use your analogy, I gotta do the chef thing." And
Yeah.
so, um, this story, it's been so funny because people have texted me, people have reached out via email, and these are owners across the entire business spectrum. Some of them have 7-figure plus businesses, multiple 7 figures, and they're like, "Dude, I can't take 40 days off work. What are you doing? How did you do that?" I'm like, "You're making more money than I do. It has nothing to do with how much money you're making, really. You
Right.
know, um, it's about intent and the systems." And so I started to tell these stories. I'm like, "Well, you know what? I'm going to go do this." And so, um, when it comes to the stories, this is a nice segue into that, because it's not just an overall brand story or series of stories for your brand. You should storify every product or service that you launch,
Yeah.
right? So I tell people there are 3 types of stories you need to be able to tell: the founder story, the business story, and then third, the customer story or the transformation story, right? So the founder story is me. In this situation, of course, it's me because I'm the brand, right? But it's how I was completely overworked. I mean, whether you believe in a higher power or not, if you saw my calendar last year, you would have prayed for me. You'd be like, "This guy's gonna have a heart attack." And I'm the founder story, right? And the business story is how I found Go High Level and white labeled it into brand new funnels, right? And this is the problem that this product helped me solve. I didn't drive my assistant crazy. The last thing I want is for Chelsea to ever quit working for me. And I realized if I just kept giving her menial work for 72 members, because I was trying to get, 72 manual emails, she would have gone nuts. She'd be like, "Mike, I got to move on to more fulfilling things in life," right?
Yeah.
And in this case, I'm also the transformation story. But as soon as we showcase other members, they're the transformation story. And
Yes.
so we think about, anytime you're marketing your overall brand. I shared a little bit about my story in earlier episodes. I came from the church world, completely pivoted my life. But in this scenario, when I'm marketing this particular product, I'm trying to find the story that frames it, a legitimate story as to why this has helped me. And I'm
Yeah.
living the story right now. This is
Yeah.
the last interview I'm doing before I take 40 days off.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about it. I really am.
Amazing. That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I hear you, I get it, and I'm telling you, CEO Mischief Makers listening to our voice or watching this video, you have to take these 3 episodes you've heard of Mike's. We're talking, it's a little teeny portal window, in a ship, just a teeny window into this guy's life, and take these stories that he's written and this process he's gone through and apply it, use it, act on it. Go get his book, You Are the Brand. Take that scenario, take each of those chapters, break it down for your life. I swear to you, if you do that and you're trying to build a brand, you will be leaps and bounds months and years ahead of where you would have been had you not acted on that information. And I'm telling you, he's not going to get rid of me. I don't care what he does. I don't care where he is. If he tries to get rid of me for whatever reason, I will stalk him. I will show up at his house. I will find out where he lives, and I will say, no, you're not getting rid of me. I won't, do anything too creepy other than stalk, but but you're not going to get rid of me. So thank you so much for sharing this brilliance and taking us through this journey so beautifully. Yet when you say you want to impact people with words and help people make money with words, I think you're doing pretty darn well with that, sir.
Thank you. That means a lot, and I'm appreciative to be here. And just like the things you learn along the way, you just want other people to learn, right? And if you do that, there's this old quote by Jim Rohn, the original personal development guru, or I think maybe it was Zig Ziglar, one of the two. It's basically said something along the lines of, you can get whatever you want in life if you help other people get what they want. And to me, at least business wise, I know what I want. I want a business that's wired this way. I want margin and freedom and time to explore my curiosities, but also have a home base of people who I just really, really care about. People send me photos of their families. They tell me what's going on. They talk to me about their relationships. I swear I feel like I'm back in church, and like a therapist or a pastor or a priest or something half the time. Except it's with people I really, really want to talk to about this stuff. When you're working in a church, you got to talk to everybody. You're just obligated, right?
No matter what.
And here, but I just love the way that my work life is. And that's important because it's very hard to find anyone who's really, really fulfilled in life who doesn't love what they do for a living, because work is such a big part of our lives. So if any of my story resonated with you, with anyone listening, I hope that that there's been some value added and some different perspectives, and you really can do what you want. It'll take a little bit of work and elbow grease to get to that point to be able to do whatever you want, but it's well worth it. And the growth you'll experience along the way is invaluable. It's not anything anyone can ever take from you.
Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit CEOmischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.